Greetings from the people of planet Earth.
Democracycast from Democracy Watch News. Democracycast is available wherever you access your podcasts. You can also hear it at TuneIn Radio. Check out the website where you'll find links to our podcasts and blogs. democracywatchnews.org.
Hello everyone, this is Dean Edwards, Democracy Watch News President and International Coordinating Editor in Salem, Oregon. Today we have Greg Palast. He's going to be talking about his book on the upcoming election. The main person working with Greg today will be Mark Taylor-Canfield, our Executive Director and Editor for Press Freedom in Seattle, Washington. This will be a special episode of Democracycast. Our series is available on TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and through your local regular podcast provider. Mark and Greg, gentlemen, the microphones are yours.
This is Mark Taylor-Canfield, Executive Director for Democracy Watch News in Seattle. And today we're talking with investigative journalist and best-selling author Greg Palast about vote suppression in the United States and his new book entitled How Trump Stole 2020, The Hunt for America's Vanished Voters. Greg is known for his investigative reports for the BBC, The Guardian, and Rolling Stone. His bestsellers include The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, and Palast's new book, How Trump Stole 2020, has just been released. And by the way, he also tells you how you can steal it back. So you can catch his reports at gregpalast.com. Hi, Greg. Welcome to Democracycast.
I'm really thrilled to be with you.
So what's the story behind this book? First of all, what are the main forms of voter suppression in the United States, and how do the political parties get away with this?
Well, that's the point. How Trump stole 2020, the main way that they steal it has already been done. That is, they've purged, eliminated, erased, wiped out the voter registrations of 16.7 million people in the last 2 years of records. 16.7 million people have been wiped off the voter rolls. That's why I say the election's been stolen. By the way, you can steal it back. It's stupidly simple to do, but not so easy if you don't know you've lost your vote, which is that you have to re-register. The way to do that, you go online, see if you're still registered, and then re-register. So I wanted to give you the bad news and the good news. They've stolen it. You can steal it back. Now, that's one problem, is you're not registered. I was with Martin Luther King's 92-year-old cousin voting at the same voting station 50 years in Atlanta. They threw her out. They said, you're no longer registered here. Please check your registration online right now. You're not there. I wasn't, by the way. Check mine. I wasn't there. I re-registered online. Make a screenshot. That's the beginning. So you're wiped off. We're moving to mail-in balloting, which we have to because it's mail-in or die. But they don't count. Are you ready for this? 22% of all mail-in ballots are never counted. That's according to the MIT study. The number one study on mail-in voting, 22% never get counted. And by the way, the 16.7 million votes removed, well, that was from the federal government. That's not a Greg Palast like I just came up with it from outer space item. It's from the Elections Assistance Commission, which is our official agency which tracks votes and non-votes. We lost 3 million mail-in ballots in 16 when not many people were voting by mail. So how does that happen? 1 in 10 people who ask for a mail-in ballot never get it. You just don't get it. If it ain't gotten to you, you can't mail it back in, can you? You can't mail in a vote that's not been mailed out to you. If you're on that purge list or any other reason why they can't find you, they will not. Most of these ballots will not be forwarded. I just talked to a radio producer who lost his vote because he moved apartments within his building. You have to take care to make sure that you're registered and that you get your vote, and that it gets counted. That's also another problem. Last election, 1,900,000 votes, almost 2 million, were challenged and rejected. 2 million votes. Now remember, Trump won with a total of 70,000 votes in 3 states. Among the 2 million votes thrown out were 75,000 ballots not counted in Detroit, Michigan. Now, whose voters are those? Trump won Michigan, we're told, by 10,000 votes. 75,000 votes were not counted in Detroit. If they counted those votes, who would win Michigan? Who would be president? You tell me. So I'm telling you right now, that's just the beginning. They're going to be challenging every mail-in vote that they can find. That's why our dear president, Agent Orange, has put together he's trying to put together an army of 50,000 Hawaiian shirt nutcases as vigilantes who are then going to go in. I'm not worried about the intimidation factor, that people are too worried about that. I'm not. I'm worried about something else, which is that they're going to go into the voting stations and challenge every single vote by mail, which you can do in America. That's going to be a problem. We're going to lose millions of votes to challenge us. Millions. Millions. Remember, and by the way, your mail-in ballot ain't a secret, right? It's not a secret ballot. But we got a lot of work to do to steal this election back. What do you think?
Yes, and in Washington State and Oregon, it's all mail-in balloting now. It's been that way for a while. You can actually drop in Martin Luther King Jr. County in Seattle, where I live, you can actually drop your ballot off in a drop box, but most people use the mail. So we've been doing that for a while. Can you explain to people real quick here about how Senator Bernie Sanders lost over 500,000 votes in California during the 2016 primary election?
By the way, I want to pick up what you said about Washington. We've
Sure.
had very successful mail-in elections in Washington and Oregon. Unfortunately, neither Washington nor Oregon are in the United States. In America, we don't make it easy to vote by mail. We make it hell, especially for young people and voters of color. So we can't use the Washington-Oregon experience. I wish we could. I wish we could say, let's have everyone use the Washington-Oregon rules. That is what Trump is trying to block. He's not trying to end mail-in voting. He's trying to end mail-in voting where everyone gets to vote, as you do in Oregon and Washington and now California in the general. You asked me about Bernie Sanders. Yes, in How Trump Stole 2020, there's a chapter called California Reman. And yes, almost all the kind of vote shenanigans, vote thievery, trickery has been emanating from the Republican Party. They go after voters of color. We know, I've proven that again and again, and it's in How Trump Stole 2020 in detail. But if you think it's just the Republicans, sorry, kids, cover the children's ears. I'm going to tell you the Democrats do it too. Unfortunately, they do it to other Democrats. So in California, talk about a disaster, mail-in disaster. Again, it's not the voters who are filing, sending in fraudulent ballots. It's the government that's defrauding the voters. In California, Alex Padilla, the Democratic Secretary of State who was promoting Joe Biden, in fact, he was one of the campaign leaders for Hillary Clinton in 2016. He pulled off a stunt in 2016 and 20 the same way. He sent independent voters who have the right to vote in the Democratic primary. He sent 3.7 million independent voters ballots with no presidential candidate. Let me repeat that. In the primary, 3.7 million voters got ballots without a presidential candidate. Now, talking to the top statistician in California on voting, Paul Mitchell, he simply called this purge by postcard. What happens is they sent out a postcard. You don't see it looks like junk mail. Do you want to have to independent voters? Would you like to have a Democratic Party ballot? Because you have a right to one. If you didn't see that piece of junk mail, you lost your right to vote in the primary. You got a ballot. You got your mail-in ballot because we vote almost entirely mail-in California. You get your mail-in ballot, but it doesn't have the candidates. Like that? 80% of independents in California said to pollsters they want to vote in the Democratic primary, and they wanted Bernie Sanders 2-1. 2-1. And so what the Democratic Party did is don't send them ballots where they can vote. Real simple. We calculated, and I used to teach statistics. I can tell you, I'm pretty exact about this. 553,000 votes were stolen from Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary this past March. It's in How Trump Stole 2020. But now, in the general, they're going to let everyone vote in the presidential. Everyone will have a presidential ballot in California. So for the general, it'll work out. But these are the games that are played. And in other states, they play this same game. In California, they were really sophisticated. They sent you the ballot, but no candidates. In other states, they simply don't send you your ballot. In Ohio, 1,039,000 registered voters were not sent a card asking them if they want to mail-in vote. 1,039,000 in Ohio. That's in the book. Why? Well, they said they're inactive voters. What does that mean? It means that they didn't vote in a midterm. Well, who votes in a midterm? Most Americans don't. But it turns out that those who skip an election or two are 2-to-1 Democrats. So that when they say, we're not going to if you skip the election, you don't get a new ballot or a new mail-in ballot, or we're not going to send you a card for one. They know that list is 2-to-1 Democrats. That's in Ohio. Georgia, the same thing, which is a swing state. You've got tremendous problems getting your mail-in ballot. So there's ways in the book we tell you how. Number one, register. You're not getting the ballot unless you're registered, and there's 1 in 9 chance you aren't. Second, if they don't mail it to you on time, you call your county board of elections. Sorry, it's going to take some effort, but say, where's my ballot? I want that ballot. If necessary, you pick it up from the county board of elections. I know this sounds like a lot of work. So what? How much work did John Lewis put in? Right? He almost died. I'm not asking you to get beaten nearly to death on a bridge. I'm asking you might have to call the county board of elections. How difficult is that, Jack? Do it! And get the book, How Trump Stole 2020.
Hey, Greg, I want to thank you, for all of your dedicated, committed work on this issue, on voting in general. Voting security was another issue that you've been covering, which is much appreciated. At Democracy Watch News, we cover pro-democracy movements around the world, and we sorely need a pro-democracy movement in the United States, which is why these issues are so important to us. There's so many challenges to our democracy between voter suppression, gerrymandering, the Citizens United decision, the Electoral College. It's really difficult to describe our electoral system as a democracy.
For 20 years, I've been reporting for BBC and Rolling Stone and Democracy Now! And The Guardian, mostly from abroad, from London, where I was based with The Guardian and BBC. And believe me, I do these reports. Now, you may not see me on the nightly news often in America, but you do in the rest of the world at the top of the BBC nightly news, and people are stunned that the great democracy, the democracy that was dropping democracy from B-52s on Iraq, right? This is the nation that isn't counting votes, especially votes of voters of color. But the good news is that they can steal our votes, but we can steal it back. There's a way to bust the burglary, and there's been a long history of this fight, which has been successful. Back in '65, when John Lewis was on that bridge, Selma, being beaten nearly to death, there was no chance of a Voting Rights Act. Within a couple months, it was the law. So we can act, we can move, we can get things done, but not by hoping that the Democratic Party or Congress or someone's going to save us. You're going to save you.
Or the corporate U.S. media, which I'm very critical of. There's a reason that the United States is ranked 45th in the world in terms of press freedom by Reporters Without Borders. And stories like this are not being reported enough in the U.S. press. Yeah, I've had, interviews with The Guardian lately on issues that I can't get my own local media in Seattle to cover. So I understand what you're talking about there.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any updates on legal actions that you're involved with at the moment in an attempt to expose the secret purge lists in those states?
So, let me explain to people. A purge, that's when you get wiped off the voter rolls. I mean, they just erase your name. And there's been this, again, 16.7 million voters have been removed from the voter rolls last 2 years. And you can put yourself back on, just re-register. But the problem is most people don't know that they're even on the purge list. So go to gregpalast.com. We're going to be putting up those purge lists too, by the way. Yes, there's only certain legal actions I can take. I'm a journalist. I can't change the law for you. But I just won a big federal lawsuit against Brian Kemp, who was the Secretary of State of Georgia, now governor. He did that by purging voters of color from the voter rolls. And what I did was I successfully sued him to get the latest hit list and the latest purge list and his history of his purge list. The judge just said, you win. Turn over those records and pay Mr. Palast lawyers, which is satisfying too. So, but that opened up things nationwide. So I have a team of lawyers. I'm working with National Lawyers Guild and others, working with a team of lawyers who in every state are basically threatening lawsuits unless the purge lists are turned over so we can see who you're gunning after. We can put up those lists and warn people. So we've just, I've just gotten the lists out of Wisconsin. I've gotten lists all over the country because even the GOP operatives don't want to get clonged the way Kemp was in a federal court. In other words, my federal court win in Georgia reverberated nationwide. We're getting those lists. And now other organizations, whether it's Fair Fight Georgia, which hired my expert team, ACLU, and other organizations are picking up our information and bringing litigation to try to reverse this Jim Crow op. But again, time's short. We have to take care of our votes now.
I know I should turn over this to the rest of the folks on the call to see if they have any questions for you. I'm just wondering if there might be any federal legislation in the works to address voter suppression.
Tons, but, Mitch McConnell has swallowed it all.
There are the 160 groups. There are those groups, 160 of them involved in the Declaration for American Democracy and the For the People Act. Does that address voter suppression directly that you know of?
The more voter rights group who demand the right of all Americans to vote, the more obstreperous our Senate is going to be and our president is going to be. There's going to be no federal legislation. Yeah, there's going to be federal legislation. There'll be federal action, which will do everything they can to block you from voting. So don't count on the feds to help you whatsoever. Our voting police, the Department of Justice, has become the Department of Injustice under Bill Barr. They ain't going to protect your vote. They are literally on the side of the vote thieves, literally trying to give them legal cover. When an Alabama judge said, my God, you don't have to notarize your ballot or get 2 witness signatures. You have to do that for mail-in vote in Alabama, a notary or witness signature. And the Supreme Court not only threw it out and said, nope, you're going to have to take a chance on giving grandma a virus, but the U.S. Justice Department stood on the side of the Jim Crow obstructionists. So you literally, this is brand new, where we have our Justice Department literally going into court with the vote suppressors. This is brand new. This is like not happened before. Even under George W. Bush, you didn't have that. This is brand new, where you have a Justice Department that is literally on the side of injustice.
Yeah, No Voting Rights Act. Hey, is there anybody else on the call that would like to ask Greg a quick question? Because I know he's got to go, we're just within a few minutes here.
This is Dean. I have one question.
Sure.
Greg, you've done a masterful job of following up and covering a lot of the other issues. I've been wondering, when somebody engages in an organized effort to collectively prevent people from exercising their voting rights and voting, is there a point where it crosses a line and they become criminally culpable, criminally liable?
Okay, as a former Justice Department investigator, I can tell you it damn well is against the law. It's a go-to-jail crime what these guys have committed. And if it was 1967, they'd be handcuffed. Guys like Brian Kemp would be in handcuffs, being read their rights. They wouldn't be governor of no state. The problem is that the voting rights police are now in the hands of the vote thieves. The worst thing about vote theft, the crime, is that when you steal enough votes, you not only steal the election, you steal the police department, you steal the voting police. There's no one there to indict you because now you're in charge. But see, bank robbers are smart. They would first take the police department hostage. I guess that's been done in some places. But all I can tell you is, it's against the law, but don't count on the law to protect you. You protect yourself. Get How Trump Stole 2020. Go to gregpalast.com. We're going to have purge lists up there from various states as we get them. You can look up your name. And then at the back of How Trump Stole 2020 is the ballot condom for safe voting. No, you don't wrap it around your ballot. What you do is you follow the 7 steps, like check your registration, ask for your mail-in ballot early, fill out every line on it. Don't leave anything blank on the envelope. Make sure you have the proper number of stamps. And if you need a witness or you need to add in, like in Wisconsin, you better add in your photo voter ID, a photocopy of your photo voter ID, or they're going to throw out your ballot. And if they do that, in some states where you have to throw in photocopies of ID, you better add that stamp, or you're going to be one of the 100,000 people who lost their ballot in 2016 for postage due. This is not an easy thing to do, but unlike Trump, no, there's not a billion ballots from Bolivia that are going to be mailed in. We've never seen that. It cannot physically be done, just so you know. The type of crime he's talking about can't be done. Okay, but you're going to have to protect your own vote. And this is really important to me, and I'm glad. See, you made a connection from the beginning of this program. This does go back to Occupy, when we had Occupy Wall Street, because those issues, you can't address the issues of the thievery of the 1% and the victimization of 99% unless the 99% get to vote and do something about it. So this gets to the core of the solution to the issue. I'm really glad to be on this podcast because we're talking to those activists who are on the front line when it mattered, and it's not over with yet, not even close.
Well, thanks for fighting the good fight. And, who cannot love a guy who wears a good fedora? My grandfather gave me his old Stetson fedora. I put it in the closet for a couple of years and then started wearing it. And then everybody said, hey, that looks sharp. Now I'm always in a suit and fedora, and I look like I'm a film noir guy, just like you. So I think you're my spiritual father, Greg.
I hope I influence your dedication to the right to vote as much as I've influenced your fashion style.
Yes, definitely. And we really appreciate your time. It's a very important historic topic that those of us at Democracy Watch News really need to focus on and get the word out on. So everybody get Greg's book and listen for him all over the media. You can check him out on the Tom Hartman Show, Jeff Santos Show sometimes. He's all over the place. Go to gregpalast.com. And thanks so much, Greg. We'll be in touch. Best of luck to you. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield, Executive Director for Democracy Watch News in Seattle. Democracycast. That was an interview with Greg Palast about his new book, How Trump Stole 2020, about the upcoming November elections. I want to thank everybody on the call, including Dean Edwards, President of Democracy Watch News, Steve Barnes, Sally Gellert, John Harvey, and Michael Buell, and all the folks who have helped make this happen, Lynn Edwards. Thanks a lot for your help putting Democracy Watch News together. Thanks for being such a dedicated crew. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield, over and out from Seattle.
And this is Dean Edwards, International Coordinating Editor and President of Democracy Watch News. I want to thank Mark for taking the lead on organizing this. A great report. It'll be important not only for us here in the United States, but for our contacts around the world, because they are listening to what's going on in the United States. And they do draw references from that as we and in Democracy Watch News draw references from them. Once again, this is Dean Edwards in Salem, Oregon. Until next time, have a great day.
You have been listening to Democracycast from Democracy Watch News. Democracycast is available wherever you access your podcasts. You can also hear it at TuneIn Radio. You can follow Democracy Watch News at Facebook and subscribe to our international news feeds at Twitter. Check out the website where you'll find links to our podcasts and blogs, democracywatchnews.org. The Democracycast theme was composed by Mark Taylor-Canfield. Thanks for listening.